told you, this COLA increase doesn't cover the premiums. We are being robbed.
Don't you think I know that? We can't keep doing this, Dad. You have to listen to me.
Welcome back to our community. Today's story is a heavy one. Sent to us by a subscriber named Margaret from Florida. It is a story about what she calls the silent robbery. It is a situation that I know many of you watching right now will find painfully familiar in this year of 2026. Margaret wrote to us saying she waited all year for that 2.8% COLA increase. She thought, finally, a little breathing room to buy fresh groceries. Without counting every single penny. But then she opened her Medicare Part B statement for 2026. The number staring back at her was $202.90. The raise she was promised did not just vanish, it left her in the red. But the real war did not start with the government or the healthcare system. It started right at her kitchen table, with her own flesh and blood. This is the cold reality of 2026. Where the rising cost of living is quietly killing the spirit of family, and where technology, meant to connect us, is building walls between generations. Chapter 1: The Arithmetic of Despair. Let us break down the math that is breaking so many hearts today. In 2026, the Social Security Administration announced a 2.8% cost of living adjustment. On paper, to the younger generation, it looks like a safety net, working exactly as intended, but in reality, it is a mathematical trap. Medicare Part B premiums jumped by nearly 10% this year. For someone like Margaret, who lives on a strictly fixed income, that $20 increase in monthly premiums completely wiped out her $15 increase in benefits. The system gave with one hand and took away more with the other. I tried to explain this to my daughter, Sarah, Margaret explained in her letter. I told her I could not help with the grandkids' private coding lessons this month. Sarah just looked at me and said, "Mom, you have a house worth $1 million. Why are you crying over $20? That $1 million house is Margaret's only true sanctuary. But to her children, it is nothing more than a stagnant, illiquid asset. They do not see the crushing property taxes. They do not see the daily sacrifices. They only see what they are no longer receiving. The conflict is not about the $20. It is about the profound lack of empathy for the financial terror that seniors face daily." Chapter 2: Aging in Place, or Aging in Prison. The defining trend of 2026 is aging in place. Nobody wants to end up in a sterile facility. Margaret spent thousands of dollars from her dwindling savings installing AI fall detection sensors, smart locks, and biometric monitors to prove to her family that she could safely live alone. But here is the bitter irony. The very technology that was supposed to guarantee her freedom quickly became a financial and emotional shackle. The monthly subscription fees for these safety services keep rising, eating into her grocery budget. My son, Mark, came over last week to check on me, Margaret recounts. But he was not checking on my health or asking how I felt. He was checking the smart home logs on his tablet to see if I was wasting electricity, or if the biometric sensors showed I was becoming too expensive to maintain at home. In 2026, our cherished homes have transformed into data hubs for our children to monitor our physical decline. The independence we fought so fiercely for is now being scrutinized through a cold, unforgiving lens of economic efficiency. You are no longer a mother, you are a data point that is costing them money. Chapter 3: The Prescription Cap Illusion. The government constantly boasts about the $2,100 out-of-pocket cap for Medicare Part D. On the news, it sounds like a massive victory for seniors. But for Margaret, who relies on high-end biological injections for her severe arthritis, reaching that cap early in the year means going through months of sheer financial terror before the relief actually kicks in. My kids think I am rich now because my medications are capped, she writes bitterly. They do not see the trips to the grocery store, where I have to put back the fresh fruit because my Part B premium took my produce money this month. This misunderstanding is exactly where the family war ignites. The younger generation sees these caps and the COLA increases as unfair, systemic advantages for the elderly, especially when they are struggling with their own economic crises. They do not see the reality of the fixed income squeeze. Sarah actually told me I was hoarding my pension. While she struggled with the threat of AI replacing her job, Margaret shared, "But my pension is not a hoard. It is a life raft that is rapidly taking on water." Chapter 4: The Technology Gap as a Weapon. In 2026, if you cannot seamlessly navigate a 5G integrated telehealth portal, you become practically invisible to the medical system. Margaret's primary care doctor moved entirely to virtual VR consultations to save on clinic overhead costs. I asked Mark to help me set up the VR headset for my heart consultation, Margaret explains. He snapped at me. He said, "Mom, just Google it or ask the AI." I am busy trying to pay off my own smart mortgage. It was not just about the technology. It was the look in his eyes. He looked at me like I was an obsolete software update that he just did not want to install. This technological divide is now being used as a weapon in family arguments. When a child says, "If you cannot use the tech, you should not live alone," it is just a polite, modern way of saying, "Your time in this house is over, and it is time for us to cash out." Margaret realized in that moment that her children were no longer her safety net. The AI sensors were her only companions, and even they felt like spies working to secure her children's inheritance. Chapter 5: The Social Prescription. So, what did Margaret do? She made a brave, albeit heartbreaking, decision. She stopped fighting the war at home. She realized that trying to convince her own children of her financial and emotional reality was a losing battle that only drained her soul. She reached out to a local intergenerational living community program. She decided to share her large, empty home with a 22-year-old nursing student. The arrangement was simple: the student gets free rent in a tough economy, and Margaret gets patient help with her technology, someone to share a meal with, and a real, breathing human presence. When Sarah found out, she was absolutely furious, Margaret writes. She accused me of giving away her inheritance by letting a total stranger live in her future house. I looked at her and told her, "It is not your house yet, Sarah. And right now, this stranger treats me more like a human being than you do." Margaret chose a social prescription over a toxic family obligation. She chose to protect her dignity. She chose herself. Margaret's story is a massive wake-up call for all of us navigating 2026. When the numbers on our pension checks do not match the brutal reality of our bills, and when our own flesh and blood begin to see us as a depreciating asset on a balance sheet, What is left for us to do? We need to hear from you today. Have you felt the silent robbery in your own life? Have you ever caught your children looking at your home and seeing a dollar sign instead of the sanctuary you built for them? Here is my question to you: should we compromise our independence and endure the disrespect just to keep the peace and protect our children's inheritance? Or is it our absolute right to spend every last cent we have on our own dignity and survival? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let us start the difficult conversation that our families are too afraid to have.